Greetings. So for all the folks at home, what is this?
So this is a podcast where two former youth group kids and current music nerds do a deep dive on Christian music albums from the 90s and 2000s.
Thousands.
Ooh, I like that effect. I am one of your hosts, Kylan Savage.
And I am your other host, TJ Smith.
Yeah, so now, if you've never listened, now you know what the heck is going on.
Now you know what we're about.
So what's up, TJ?
Oh, nothing. I just looked up in the sky and saw some weird shapes and some things going on. And they're saying on the news that the aliens have landed, Kylan.
Oh my God, this took me way too long to figure out what you were talking about. I was like, what?
Which is good because that means it's suspenseful enough.
Looked up in the sky. Yeah. Well, if you can't tell by reading the title, I think this episode we're talking about. What are we talking about?
Alien Youth. Alien Youth.
Yeah, by the band Skillet.
Skillet.
Oh man. Oh, real quick, I wanted to say our last week's discussion was super fun.
It was.
Where we talked about the new 5 Iron Frenzy record.
Yes.
Trying to switch things up a little bit, where we talked about an album that was new.
Right.
And so our thoughts were a little more kind of nebulous. It felt a little less, we didn't focus as much on production stuff as we normally do. But that record, I think, sort of made us do that.
Yeah, it really did. It kind of drilled things down a little bit.
Yeah. And I would not think that I would be so into a ska record
in 2021.
2021.
Me neither.
But I highly recommend people going to listen to that record and then listen to our 2-part episode about it.
Yes, it's good fun. And especially fun because we were joined by the great Josh Olson, who had a lot of neat factoids and just always a lovely perspective to have on the pod.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think we talked about it when we got off mic, that Josh was sort of like, oh, what did I say? What was, I had words to describe everybody. You were the philosopher.
Oh yeah, right.
And he was like, oh yeah. So Josh is like the scholar or the expert,
right,
on the podcast. You're like the philosopher, and then right. I just feel like the dancing monkey, who's just like, I feel like, no, I really
bring out
I know
the
we
dancing
talked about
monkey.
This. Like, I feel like I got literally every fact wrong. Like, everything that I said. I was like, well, I think this is the case. And you guys are like, no, that is just empirically not true. So,
but that's the beauty of a podcast, right? We can just talk.
Yeah.
You can kind of share your opinion.
I can just be an idiot. And then you guys can. No, I think, too, I said like 6 or 7 times, gosh, you guys are so smart. You're so smart. I'm so glad we're all best friends.
You were very complimentary on that episode. It was nice.
Well, not going to be this time, numbnuts.
Yeah, don't. Keep me on my toes, Kylan.
Yeah. So anyway, you should go and listen to those episodes if you haven't. They're pretty fun.
Yes.
But that's not what we're talking about anymore.
Nope.
We're going back.
We've moved back in
time.
The OG form.
Yeah. So we are talking about the 2001 Skillet record, Alien Youth.
Yes.
And I'm going to be pretty honest.
Tell me.
I didn't really do any research.
He didn't do research.
I don't know much about Skillet.
Yeah, I know that they are a band that has really had a pretty impressive, to me surprisingly impressive career from about, I think, 1996 to present, I think.
No, for sure. I think they just came out with something recently.
Yeah.
Or this last year.
So, I mean, like, that's pretty cool. That's something I know, that they're still cranking music out, and I know that they're known to be a very aggressive touring band. Not like they're aggressive people, but their touring schedule is like really, really impressive and active.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because, okay, even though I know nothing about them, I feel like I've seen them live at least 4 times.
Yeah, they're definitely one of those like high energy, very live centric sort of bands. I feel like the way that they make music and why they make music is for live shows.
Right,
it's
for
for
sure.
engaging with an audience, right?
Yeah, like I know I've seen them at least twice at what is it called? Rock the Universe. It's a Christian music festival that they throw at Universal Studios.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How have I never heard about this?
I don't know if they still do it, but I went I've been to Rock the Universe twice and Night of Joy, which is the same thing but at Disney.
Yeah.
I remember I actually saw DC Talk. It was their last year that they were together.
Oh, wow.
At Night of Joy.
That's fun.
At Disney World. But yeah, I've seen Skillet. I saw them, I think, at Cornerstone.
Yep.
They do tour all the time.
Lots of festivals. Yeah, so, good for them. I guess the only thing I know about it, like their band member background, is that they have had some changes, but
but two of them are married, right?
Yeah, the founding member John Cooper and his wife Corey Cooper. So the band started in '96, if I'm not mistaken, and he was kind of the founding member, and then she actually didn't join till like '99 or 2000, somewhere around there.
Yep.
But since then, I think has stayed in the band, and then there's some other members, and they've had a lot of lineup changes. There's actually a really wonderful graphic that shows the timeline of the different members. If anybody's interested, on their Wikipedia page, feel free to drop in and check that out.
Okay.
But I think for the sake of time, we don't have to get into all that. But what I think I'm hearing from you, Kylan, and I can definitely speak to this for myself, is that we don't really know much about these guys other than just we listened to them as kids.
Well, yeah. So Skillet, I think, was one of those bands too. I'm definitely not super familiar with Alien Youth. I think the big album that I was into was Collide. That was their one after this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 2003. But Skillet was one of those bands that I feel like they would always play on the loudspeakers before youth group started.
Oh.
Like in that half hour before it really started, when everyone's just hanging out.
Yeah.
Like that.
What that tells me is you went to some edgy churches, Kylan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, no, starting in middle school, I started going to a non-denominational church.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's out there.
We had a younger youth pastor who was
Ooh.
pretty edgy.
Real hip.
Yeah. So we played some Skillet. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm excited to listen to this record.
Yeah.
It's a little outside of, I think, sort of the things you and I typically listen to.
True. Yeah. That's accurate. And I actually, to that point, was thinking about it, trying to get in the right headspace to record this. I was like, what can I say as far as my relationship to this band or my experience, kind of my past memories and things like that. And the one memory that sticks out is, I don't remember if it was a burned copy or a legit copy of this CD, but I think it was a burned one from someone in youth group or something. I had Alien Youth, and I was in my room playing it on my little CD player with my goofy foam headphones, and I remember thinking, like 2 or 3 songs in, I remember thinking, uh-oh, I might be into metal. Uh-oh, oh no. Am I going to the bad place?
Oh, man. That's so funny.
Am I a rebel without a cause? It was like a palpable moment of like confusion and low key fear of like, is there something wrong with me? This is like,
that's really funny.
Devil music.
Yeah,
even though I knew they were a Christian band.
Right. Yeah, no, I think this, for as much as I say, like, I didn't really listen to Skillet, they were such a part of me growing up, like just sort of always in the background, and I think they were sort of a gateway band for me.
Yes.
Into like, even before I got into like metal,
right?
Definitely like the new metal sort of angsty. I feel like Skillet and Evanescence were quote unquote Christian bands,
right?
And so it was acceptable, but my parents didn't really know the difference, and so then later I started sneaking in like 3 Days Grace and like some of those other bands, and was real into that for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just to prove the point that we're getting at, they are such a nebulous band, not only in the genre that they operate in, but their touring peers are diverse. They have toured with some of the most interesting combination of bands that I can think of.
Really?
Just like skimming some tour info, like over the years of their, like throughout their career, they have toured with Creed, Papa Roach, Nickelback, Godsmack, Puddle of Mud, and Korn.
Oh wow.
And also they have toured with Jeremy Camp, Toby Mac, Hawk Nelson, and Third Day.
Oh my god. Yeah, okay, so I don't know. That's really fascinating.
Isn't that bonkers?
Like they've sort of touched a lot of different facets. Like,
Yeah, they have like feet in both worlds. They kind of jump between.
yeah, I don't know. That's really cool.
They have this like really unique and strange like scene flexibility. Just like
yeah.
chameleon from like new metal, secular alt rock into like worship bands.
Dude, I think that's pretty cool. Okay, so I'm just reading now too that in 2019, their song "Legendary" was debuted as the theme song for WWE Raw.
Oh yeah, that makes complete sense to me.
It does. Okay, this band is fascinating.
Isn't it wild?
Well, that's a great transition into the ever important question of this podcast. Do you think Alien Youth is going to be a flop or a bop?
Okay, so I'll go ahead and say I think for the first time in Church Jams Now podcast history, I think I am going to think an album is too long.
Wow, okay.
I'm calling it. I think it's going to be a flop because I think that the songs are going to go on and on and on, and the album's going to just like sag, and I'm going to get real tired of
You
it.
think they're all going to kind of feel the same?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That kind of like grungy wall of sound thing,
Right.
I think it's not going to work for me. We'll see.
Okay.
What about you?
Well, I've been going back and forth, and I'm trying really hard to not be such a pessimist because I feel like we've sort of adopted these roles within the podcast of like, I'm pretty grumpy and you're always pretty hopeful.
I'm the happy idealist.
And you always give everyone the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's going to be a flop too.
That's fair.
I think, but I'm curious because I want to, after we listen to it, I want to maybe listen to some other Skillet albums and see, like, I wonder, because this one's relatively early on, it's what, their like third album or something?
Yeah, I
but
think so.
Also 2001 was sort of the start of a very specific sort of new metal
Wave.
phase in music in general that is just not really my thing.
Right.
But I'm wondering if they like sort of innovate later on.
Yeah.
Like I wonder if it's going to be a flop but interesting.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I wonder if it's going to, like, if it lays the groundwork for that sort of sound for other bands, or if it just kind of sounds like, because I'm going to try to go into it. I am going to see when some of those other bands came out with albums.
Right.
And see if there's any correlation between, like, if they're just sort of doing what everyone's doing or if they're innovating in a certain way. But I do think it's going to be a flop.
Yeah. And maybe learn if they influenced other acts or if vice versa, other acts influenced them. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to kind of dig into and find out. Alien Youth is their fourth album. I just looked it up to confirm. Fourth studio album.
Okay, cool.
And it's interesting that you mentioned Collide being more resonant with you. I somehow, between the time that Alien Youth came out and Collide came out, I had like entered and then exited my Skillet fan stage. Like I had like,
yeah,
it was like
those 2 years where you were not sure if you were into metal.
Yeah,
that was maybe when you were into metal.
Yes,
and then decidedly not.
And then it came and went.
That's so funny.
And that's why like so many people talk about Collide and Comatose, and I'm like,
now you were done by then.
At that point, I was listening to the Decemberists.
Right.
Like I don't even know what Skillet was doing then.
Right.
But I know that those albums are big.
Yeah.
So like I'm now curious to dig into them as somebody that didn't really.
Yeah. All right.
But we'll start here with this one.
So we're going to take a little break. We're going to listen to the album, and we'll give you our thoughts when we come back.
Oh, and stick around, because when we come back, Kylan doesn't know this, but we're going to do what I'm calling a John Cooper off. And that's going to be Kylan and me seeing who can do the best John Cooper impression.
Oh, man. Okay. All right. I love it. I love you come up with the best segments. I'm into it. Okay.
It's going to be real bad. Real bad.
I'm excited. We'll be back with Church Jams Now.
Church Jams Now.
Welcome back to Church Jams Now. We took a little break, and in podcast land, this was only, like 30 seconds because there was an ad for our Patreon. But in reality, it's been, like a week and a half?
Something like that, yeah.
Since we recorded part one.
Yeah.
But we have listened to Alien Youth by Skillet.
We sure have. Man, it was a ride.
Yeah. Are you playing your cards a little early?
I'm just calling it a ride.
All right. Well, let's get that ride started. Let's go ahead and just jump right into track number 1, the
Yeah.
titular track.
Yeah, so I gotta say, right off the bat, I think that what middle school TJ loved about this song was how it was like the musical equivalent of the H.G. Wells War of the Worlds coming on the radio and everybody thinking it was real.
Oh yeah.
Like it was like the musical equivalent of that. Like, and I think TJ just likes aliens and like sci-fi stuff. And so thematically, this song, especially being the lead track of this album, it worked for me for that reason.
Yeah. Dude, okay, this was a freaking incredible intro. This is like a great way to start an album, to
Yes.
start a show.
Yes.
Like everything about the beginning of this, I got super stoked. I got super pumped.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
and
full
then
of energy.
Yeah. Okay. So my biggest note on this was in the beginning. You know, it's super catchy. There's almost like a 90s alternative pop feel to it.
Right.
You know, like a little like Third Eye Blind kind of, like it was, you know, a little more major.
Yep.
But then I realized this song feels okay. The way, you know how people joke about Imagine Dragons, or yeah, I've heard both Imagine Dragons or the Black Keys just make songs for Jeep commercials.
Yes.
In a lot of ways, I feel like Skillet just wrote this song for youth group promos and camp highlight videos.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like it's the perfect pace. And maybe it's just because I've seen it a lot in camp highlight videos.
But it does make you wonder if that was intentional. If John Cooper was like, you know what church culture needs? It needs a youth group song for 2001.
I'm sure it wasn't intentional. I'm sure it's just one of those like,
it's
just super high energy and it's like kind of edgy and stuff. So people really jumped on it.
Yeah, no, it's super fun. And kind of piggybacking off of what you're saying, that at the very, very beginning, that right side guitar, left side guitar stereo effect, I think that was the first time I had to think about like where I was confronted with the idea of like, how did they do that?
Right.
I like, before that hadn't considered the difference between mono and stereo at all, like from a production standpoint.
So then what did you think of that like today? Like listening to that? Do you still think that's super cool, or do you think it's kind of
through the lens of
like,
2021 Tej, it's like, okay, this is tired. But I still could like put myself in the nostalgic memory of the first time I ever heard it. And so I could appreciate it from that place, I guess. Because it was super fun, as a middle schooler to hear that stereo effect and all the kind of glitchy sounds and everything.
Yeah,
it's fun.
There are a lot of glitchy sounds in this.
Yeah.
There was some interesting production throughout. I did feel like after a while, the song just felt like it was broken up into a bunch of like disparate parts. Like it didn't feel very cohesive.
Right.
Like each part, like the verses felt different from the chorus, from the bridge. They all felt kind of like they were parts of different songs.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like it just didn't, like each part on its own was really good.
Right.
But it felt like they were just written all totally separately. Yeah. And then just kind of thrown together.
Yeah, because the way that Alien Youth at the end of the chorus ends, and then it just is that guitar line. It feels like those two parts could have been totally different songs.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't notice a ton of sweet, sweet bass simply because that guitar was like so loud in the mix and so compressed and so just like wall of sound.
It's all you can hear.
It all just kind of blended together.
Yeah. True.
But there is some sweet bass on this record.
A little bit. Yep. True.
I just didn't hear it right off the bat.
Yeah, me neither. Track 2?
Yeah, track 2, Vapor. Okay, literally my first note is, what is this song? Like, what is this?
Okay, so you had a little analogy on Alien Youth. I'm gonna give you one for this one. So it feels like it belongs in, if like Fast and Furious 10 came out in 2001.
So like one of the Need for Speed games soundtrack.
Sure. Need for Speed
that's
game,
been around for a while.
Any Vin Diesel fight scene. There's got to be like somewhere in there. There's got to be like a freak gasoline fire.
Oh yeah.
Some kind of explosion.
Twisted Metal. Remember that game?
Oh wow.
This could be like a promo for Twisted Metal.
Oh yes. Yeah, I really did not like this song.
I didn't either. And the thing is, there are instances where I really love the like super messy, discordant kind of thing.
Right.
Super messy can really work.
It can.
But I think when paired with the super clean, super compressed production,
right,
it just felt odd.
Yeah.
Like it just didn't work for me. Like I feel like if you're going to do messy like that, like you either need to go more industrial,
right,
or more sort of lo-fi,
yeah,
like more kind of punk,
or you need to be maybe more like actual metal, like actual metal.
Yes, exactly.
Like it's kind of like it's close. It's almost
but then having
there.
it after the song, taking over the world, and then just like. Also, my other note is, I didn't look up the lyrics, but is he saying I'm a beep?
Yeah, okay.
In the chorus?
I'm so glad you asked that, because so I remembered this song and I remembered liking it, and I really didn't this time, and I dug into the lyrics for that exact reason, because I was like, I remember liking the lyrics. I originally, like middle school teach, thought the lyrics were I'm a thief. Like somebody that steals something. Okay. I'm a vapor. And in that case, I actually thought the lyrics were really strong.
The lyrics are
so my misconception of the lyrics were strong, because I thought it was like a reference to Jesus coming like a thief in the night.
A thief in the night.
And I love that analogy, because I was like, yeah, vapor. Like it's very ethereal and not tangible. Right. I was like, that's cool. And then looking it up and seeing a beep.
He does say beep?
He does.
That's dumb. That's just dumb.
It's bad.
I'm sorry. Like.
Yeah. And kind of going off of,
what does that mean? Like what does that mean?
Like a blip, maybe? Like
a blip, that's what I'm thinking.
But even blip would be like better than beep.
Exactly. I don't know.
And going back to what you're saying about the discordant kind of thing, I think that, again, like you're saying, that can work. My problem with that sort of style in this song is that I think it's just poorly written discordant.
Yeah.
The melodic ideas, the chord structures are just not interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
They get boring really quickly.
Mm-hmm. I think, I was trying to think through, I didn't do it quite to the extent that I did with our newest album ever, but I think this album could definitely do with a resequencing.
Right.
I think it could be a lot more effective if you change some of the track lists and cut some of the songs. This is definitely one that I would cut.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially having it right after how strong Alien Youth was going into this, it just... And I get, like, maybe they were trying to go for just trying to throw people off and be like, no, we're hardcore. Yeah. But
you can't label us.
Yeah, it just didn't work for me.
Anytime a song with that kind of noise discordant style, anytime a song does that, pushing up on the border of like what can be considered musicality, if it feels too much like noise, my critical listening brain just switches off and I totally disengage.
100%.
I will say though, to that point, my second part my second favorite part of the song was the bridge because it was a little more melodic, a little more musical.
Right.
And then my favorite part of the song was when it was over. So
damn, coming in hot.
That's all I got.
All right, well, let's just go right into track 3, Earth Invasion.
Earth Invasion. So this is clearly another one with the alien invasion theme, which gets points from Nerd Tej.
I love this intro. It felt like old school video game.
Yes.
Like Alien Invaders kind of, you know.
Yeah. Invader Zim, or like one of the Crash Bandicoot levels where you're on the spaceship.
100%. Yeah, it felt super inspired by a lot of those like old school Alien video games, but kind of updated.
Right.
Like having the guitar do those lines and stuff was really cool. The guitar in general was great on this song.
Yeah, it was. Lots of like distorted wah guitar all across this album.
Yeah. And yeah, for sure. And this song too, see, I think this should have been the second track.
Agreed. Yeah.
Because it keeps that energy going from Alien Youth, but then it kind of changes it up. I like that this song is super dancey.
Yes.
At that.
Yeah, it's got that kind of like, straight ahead, mid-tempo headbanging feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. The chorus especially is very fun. And it's one of the few times that I found myself not minding the lyrics. Oh, 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 yeah, yeah.
Right.
I usually hate that stuff.
Really? Yeah. It can work for me.
Yeah.
I think. Okay, but I will say that this, though, like coming off of Alien Youth, you know, once again, as the resident vibe guy, I wasn't super paying attention to a lot of the lyrics.
Right.
But I noticed this song. Hold on, I gotta look up the lyric.
I will say, while you're doing that, the song structure is a little weird. It goes verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse 2, pre-chorus, chorus, which so far fine. But then it does this bridge interlude, and then only a 2-line third verse. So it's like you can't really tell what gear they're in. They kind of keep switching gears, and then they do a really, really long chorus as an outro, which kind of, to what we've said so far about some of the stuff, is like it kind of gets repetitive and redundant. So that's like that's my one critique of the song, is the structure is a little weird, especially on the back end, and you know, goes on a little longer than I would like. But
yeah. Okay, so the lyrics: join us in the army that's arising. The truth invades your mind. Every day the kingdom is advancing. The Earth invasion has just begun. I'm fine with that, but coming off of we're taking over the world, we're the alien youth,
right.
Like at a certain point, it all just started like I get, especially in Christian music, and especially around this time, like a big thing lyrically was like, you know, we're in this world, but not of it. Like we're set apart, we're different. But this started to feel real like
brainwashing?
Like, yes, like Starship Troopers propaganda, like weird militant propaganda.
Yeah, completely. No, I totally agree. I think a lot of things in this album kind of border on brainless behavior, or just like mindlessly following.
It did just feel like join the army.
Right.
Like it felt a little like cultish.
Yeah.
And I think part of that too is them leaning into like the sci-fi themes.
For sure.
But then mixing that with like the Christian themes. At a certain point, it just felt like a lot.
Yeah, it gets kind of convoluted. You kind of wonder, like, what are you actually saying? Well, track 4.
That's really all I got. Yeah, so, I mean, I think we are actually rocking and rolling through this.
Yeah, we are.
This may be like the shortest episode ever.
I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah.
You're welcome, listeners.
Track 4, You Are My Hope. Of course, there's got to be an acoustic ballad.
Yep. Skillet goes worship. Ship.
But okay, what album is this from? It's not from the same album.
Well,
what?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll have something to say about that at the end, but
Okay.
but you're right. It comes out of nowhere, and it feels like for anybody that like got turned on to this band from their tour with Korn or
Yeah.
Papa Roach, once they
But do you
hear
think
this song, they're gonna be
Right.
like, "What?"
But do you think that they tried to, like, do you think they did that on purpose? Of like, okay, we got them hooked. Now let's get to like what we really want to talk about.
Right.
But I could just see people just making fun of them for that.
Yes.
Like, I just feel like, what? Yeah, it'd make a little more sense further down in the record.
Right.
But track 4, like, that seems insane to me to do like a Matt Redman song,
Right.
basically,
Yeah.
or a Chris Tomlin song.
Yes.
Like, I do not understand why they decided to put this track
Where it is.
here on the record.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yep.
But that being said, I do love the guitar tone
Yeah, it's nice.
and the electric drums in the beginning. Those were super sweet. I could dig that.
Yeah. Also, the one lyric that stuck out to me that was actually pretty strong was "etching your eternity in me." I just like that. I think, you don't hear the word etching a lot in a song.
That's very true. That's very true.
I thought it was cool. But yeah, no, it feels like prime 90s acoustic rock church camp song.
Yes, 100%. Like I said, this could be a Matt Redman song.
Yep. Completely. And it just goes on way too long.
Yes, it does.
Which again is very, that's worshipy, like chorus, 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 bridge, chorus, 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 chorus.
Soft chorus, soft chorus, soft
loud
chorus.
Loud chorus, loud chorus.
Building, loud chorus. Yeah.
Only vocals now, chorus.
Yep. And then like not a guitar solo, but like a pad solo.
Right.
Like a keypad interlude.
Yep. They didn't want to get too risky with it,
Right.
Let's move on.
Yeah, we gotta move on. It's track number 5, Eating Me Away.
Eating Me Away.
This felt very Marilyn Manson.
Oh, completely. Yeah.
Which is funny because, we're doing the If You Like This, Then series, and I was going to do some Marilyn Manson on that playlist, but then did you see this week, everyone's like, no, he's a super creepo.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, fuck this. Like, I'm not putting Marilyn Manson, I'm not giving him any more streams.
Right.
I mean, we all kind of already knew it. Have you seen the meme that's like Marilyn Manson, in 2021, Marilyn Manson outed as a creeper, and then it's someone sipping coffee and it says 90s Christian parents, and they're just giving the side eye like, yeah, I know. It's so good. Well, maybe we'll share that on our Instagram or something.
Oh man, that's funny. Yeah.
But yeah. This just felt like it was trying to be super edgy.
Yeah.
They said like a cancer.
Right.
Ooh.
The beginning too is very like 9 Inch Nails.
Very like industrial.
They kind of they toe the line. They kind of go back and forth between the more like new metal and the like industrial grunge.
The industrial kind of thing, yeah.
And I actually end up liking more of the industrial sound. But yeah, I was just really bored with this one like a lot of the time. Because it was kind of like coming off of that You Are My Hope, like really bright worshipy kind of song. I wasn't ready to like switch gears so suddenly back into the glitchy grunge.
That's what I wrote
thing.
too. I liked this song quite a bit, but I said, but it felt like the placement felt super weird just coming off of You Are My Hope.
Right. And
like that track listing didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, agreed. And even like, especially lyrically, like part of the chorus is I'm more nothing than being. Is this my legacy? And then he says, It nibbles at my brain the question of my existence and the matter of pain. I shake my fist at the cosmos and my insignificance. That's so sad. I'm just like real
I
sad
know.
for little John. Like,
Right, but especially coming off of "You Are My Hope."
yeah,
Like, if anything, switch those.
right.
Like just from like a narrative,
Thematically, yes, they need to. It needs to
yeah,
go
a
up.
thematic perspective.
Right.
Exactly. It's not like "You Are My Hope." I believe in everything. I feel like I'm dying.
Right. Everything is
Just like,
terrible.
I don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels real weird. And that's actually kind of a theme that for me recurs on this album, is just like a lot of hopelessness with little moments of bright hope injected in, but it's like it's just a lot of the sad dark stuff.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah, for sure. Track number 6, "Kill Me, Heal Me." Here's what I wrote for this. Rad guitar, sweet phaser effect on the vocal.
Yeah.
It's very industrial. There's a dance beat. This is what I'm here for.
Yeah?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah?
I dug this. Although, my one complaint with the song is the chorus lyrics, or lack thereof.
Uh-huh.
That seems super phoned in.
Yeah.
Like everything else, like lyrically, it's pretty decent. Like I'm down for it. But then the chorus kicks in, and I'm like, okay, kill me, heal me. Okay, and then what? No,
Kill me, heal me again.
Kill me, heal me. Okay, all right, kill me, heal me. All right, and back to the part that I like.
Yep. Yeah. I think when this song came on, the feeling I had was like, so maybe this was the record that, or the CD rather, that middle school Tej put on. Angsty middle school Tej put this on when he had a rough day at school, and he just needed to emote with some angry dramatic music.
How I listened to "Cup of Tea"
exactly
by Newsboys.
Yes. I think this album was my brief like cup of tea. Like, I'm angry at the world, everything's terrible.
Right.
And especially like a song like this. Yeah. And you're right, that chorus just goes on and on over and over, and it doesn't really go anywhere. Also, the line about break my bones and reset me, piece by piece you break me, pick up the cross because it is killing time. How can I scream when the pain is such a release? I get the courage to pick up the nails because it is killing time. And I get the idea of like, die to yourself, pick up your cross. I understand. But at the same time, I'm like, that's heavy, man. I don't know. Again, I guess it's just like more of that dark, sad lyricism that I'm like, bummer.
Yeah, but this is like, it is like a Christian interpretation of this kind of music at this time.
True, yes, correct.
Once again, like the Marilyn Manson, the Korn, and what's his face, like Rob Zombie,
right,
kind of thing.
Yes, and I think a lot of this, the fact that I'm hooking into these like sad, dark lyrics and kind of feeling a repulsion to it, I think that backs up my Skillet experience being one that was very brief. Like I had my moment with Skillet. It was this album, and then by the time you get to Collide or whatever, I was kind of like, no, I don't need that anymore. That's not for me. Yeah. So I guess before we move on, though, in part 1 we mentioned doing a John Cooper off, and I think now's a good time to get that going. I think the way this can work is we can each pick whatever lyric from the album that we want to do our John Cooper impression. That way, it's kind of a fair fight. And listeners, we're gonna look to you for who wins. We need your votes. So get at us on social media.
All right, let's do this. I am so not prepared for this.
Me neither.
At all. Okay.
That's what's gonna make it so great.
All right, who's going first?
I'll go first. All right.
Okay, you should.
So, I'm going track 1 here. Do you believe that the aliens have landed? We're everywhere you go.
That's pretty
Thank
good.
you.
I don't think I can top that.
I think you can.
And here's my problem. I don't know any melodies. Like, I don't remember any of the melodies from this album.
do the chorus of that one. Taking over the world.
We're taking over the world.
It's the name of the song. Alien Youth.
I forgot it already. It went out of my brain. We're taking over the world. Is that the line where the aliens? Yes. We're taking over the world. We're the alien. That's not right. I think you just win. Oh, I want to cut all this.
I love it. I'm not sure what that reminds me of. It's not John Cooper, but it is something.
It's John Savage.
Oh, yeah. John Savage, baby.
All right. I woke my baby.
That was fun.
That was
Sorry,
fun.
Willow. Well, track 7.
Track 7.
The Thirst is taking over.
You alone are what my soul needs. Now the thirst is taking over.
The first thing I said was, how are we only on track 7?
Right.
Of 12, by the way.
What I wrote is, this is a spooky intro, and then it hit me, this band, killer at intros.
Yeah, you're right.
Like all of their intros are so good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm into all of them.
Yeah.
But then I said, if only the rest of the songs were this good.
Yeah. I feel like maybe they should do like soundtracks or soundscapes.
Oh, 100%.
You know?
But no, I actually wrote that. I forgot to say that earlier. It was on Eating Me Away. So, you know, TJ, I've just recently rewatched all of the Matrix movies.
Yes.
And that song in particular had real like Matrix soundtrack vibes.
Yes.
And I could totally see them doing like a sci-fi thriller.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Yeah.
I mean,
they
Trent
should.
Reznor, right? Like he has broken into the soundtrack game.
That's true.
And like, if he can do it, so could they.
Exactly. Come on, John Cooper. Score the next Kirk Cameron film. Can you imagine what is
the dark sci-fi flick from Kirk Cameron?
Not James Cameron.
Not James Cameron. Kirk Cameron.
Although James Cameron directing Kirk Cameron in a Christian Aliens remake with Skillet doing the soundtrack.
I'm here for it.
I am too.
I would watch that. Aliens. Which aliens are we on now? How many are there?
7.
I'm gonna say okay.
Wait, so there's 4 in the original,
right?
Quadrilogy, and then there's Prometheus and Covenant.
Right.
But then do you also count AVP because there's Alien versus Predator 1 and 2?
We'll just be safe and call it Aliens 10. All right, Aliens 10. The
colon youth.
Aliens 10. The Rapture.
Perfect.
And it turns out they're God. The aliens are God.
That's great. We're taking over the
There it is. Okay. So I don't know about you, Kylan, but this song, Thirst is Taking Over, especially toward the end. I want to be kind of careful in how I address this, because in no way do I mean to slight or mock anyone or anything here. But just honestly, like just being very honest, I found myself deeply uncomfortable listening to this song, especially at the end. I totally get the vibe and the place it's coming from, so no disrespect, but I just felt like I was overhearing a conversation between lovers that you're not supposed to hear, or like I was accidentally interrupting like an intimate moment between two people.
Interesting.
Like you just don't belong there. Like it feels like you're...
I didn't pick up on that at all.
Overhearing something that you're not supposed to hear.
Right. Okay. I just said that there's Ebo in it, and you know how I feel about Ebo.
Yes.
See, you're like way smarter about this than I am. Like you go through and like really think about like thematically and lyrically like what these songs represent and and attach them to like real world experiences and stuff. And I'm like, Ebo's fucking cool.
Ebo. But hey, you know what? I would never have made that comment about Ebo. So
we're just two sides of the same coin.
The same weird music nerd coin. Yeah,
That's right.
I guess mainly what I'm talking about is that ending bridge, and then outro. I want to drink you in. I am drinking you in. Over and over and over, they say that, and then the outro says, "I want to taste it. I need to taste it deep in the Savior's arms." So like, I don't want to go too far into this. You know, we don't need to get weird.
The sexual
right, but like
some biblical.
Really, I'm just kind of seeing the intimacy there. Like we could just call it intimacy, and that's still creepy for me as a listener.
I shouldn't have said sexual. I'll beep it out.
Okay. But just, yeah, it's just like a lot of intimacy that I'm like, this feels like maybe it could have been a moment that John had in the studio by himself, and it never needed to be a song that the rest of us ever heard.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, you know, I can't come at it from an objective place. I'm just saying that's how it hit me this time.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I was like, is it over yet?
It's like walking in on your parents doing it. It's a little traumatic. Anyway, let's do track number 8. One Real Thing.
And my heart starts aching, reach, and the numbness dims. Be still, my mind unsaid.
I thought this intro felt close to like Closing Time, or another one of the by Semisonic, or another one of those kind of 90s alt things. Like not exactly Closing Time, but I couldn't think of the song.
Yeah.
There's a specific song.
Right.
But it's got that kind of vibe.
It does. One real thing about this song is that I appreciate the dynamic changes between the verse and bridge and the chorus.
Yes, 100%. I said this is maybe my favorite song.
Oh.
Yep, my favorite song.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But this is also the least like any other song on the record.
Right, true. Yeah, I said it could be the final moment in a season finale of any 90s teen drama.
Yeah, which 90s teen dramas are, you know, totally my wheelhouse.
Yep.
So that's probably why I enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, that guitar like coming in after the chorus, like real bright.
Yep, I loved it.
Yeah, it's very fun. And then the fact that they drop back down to the outro at the end, kind of going from that high dynamic back down to the low. I thought that was a nice choice. To me, it showed some like musical evolution, maybe.
Right. It felt like the most cohesive and the tightest.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like maybe they had that song locked down for a while longer. I don't know. I didn't look into like who wrote what on this record, but I wonder if there was a different writer.
Yeah. It's a good question.
Who knows?
But you're right. It does sound a lot more thoughtful and like tighter for it.
Yeah. That's all I got for it.
Next.
Track number 9, Stronger.
My skin is my disguise. I'm more than a man. I smile at my demise.
I don't like the creepy frogman vocals.
Creepy frogman.
I did not enjoy that. Nope. No, thank you. 0 out of 10 would not recommend. Not into it.
Yeah. A lot of this one reminded me, especially this one reminded me of like Papa Roach or like Korn or something.
Totally. Well, I wrote too though. So I was talking about Vapor and how it was messy, but it like didn't work.
Yeah.
I thought this is how you do messy.
Right.
If you're going to do that, it makes way more sense with this song. The drums are up higher in the mix.
Right.
They're more of that like acid house drums.
Yes.
Which totally works with that kind of messy as opposed to like the drums they had in Vapor. Does that make sense?
Completely.
Like
This one
Like
has
this
like
felt
this
messy, but it worked for me.
right. I think it has this like quick, frenetic, chaotic energy that pairs
Mhm.
well with the
Right.
like musical structure of it.
Exactly.
So yeah, completely agree.
Do you remember the Underworld movies?
Yes.
Okay, I wrote that this felt like it would play over the credits of Underworld.
Oh, completely. Yep.
So it's like a little evolved past the Matrix.
Right.
But God, I love those Underworld movies too.
Yeah.
I need to watch those again.
I sort of like you had a critique of the "Kill Me, Heal Me" lyrics. I
Mhm.
just like couldn't with these lyrics. I could not. The "I am stronger, yeah, than the devil, yeah, yeah." That's it. That's all. That's it.
Yeah,
Like that's
kind of lame.
that's all you can say about it. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It just didn't work for me.
Yeah, after a while, I really did. I think after Earth Invasion, I really did just kind of check out lyrically. I went into full vibe mode.
Right.
And the vibe of some of this totally worked for me. The vibe of some of it totally did not.
Yeah. I also wanted to bring something up. I think you've mentioned over many episodes that you tend to like sort of a more tight, focused, shorter song.
Yes.
Mostly, right?
Mhm.
So, and I have like a theory about that. I think maybe
Okay.
you notice when a song idea, whether it's lyrical, thematic, melodic, chord structure, production, whatever it is, I think you notice really quickly. I think you're very like discriminating and you're listening to the vibe or whatever. I think you
Mhm.
notice when an idea is not very interesting.
Right.
I think you get,
Okay.
I think you like
Huh.
latch onto it and you're like, yep, I got it. Cool. Don't need it anymore. And for me, like I had a Kylan listening experience to this album because I got
yeah?
so bored of all the sonic ideas and the lyrical ideas so
Right.
quickly, every song almost, that I was just kind of
You
like,
just like got it or you didn't.
yeah,
You're either on board or not.
yeah,
Yeah, I do feel like you tend to give things not just music, but most like media, you tend to give things more the benefit of the doubt,
Correct.
I guess. Or are you tend to wrestle with those ideas a little
yes,
bit more.
that's a good way to put that. Yeah, and with this one, I just didn't wrestle with it.
Yeah.
Like each song, I was kind of just like, yep, nope.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Hey, welcome to my life. That's how
Right. I just wanted to mention that because I was like, hey, I can resonate with how Kylan has described experiencing a lot of these albums.
That makes me feel way cooler because my theory was I just have ADD.
No. Well, I mean, I
do.
can't diagnose you or not.
I do. Well, I've been diagnosed.
Okay.
I just don't take medication.
Right on.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm glad you finally had a Kylan Savage listening experience. I'm excited to have
It was
a
delightful.
TJ Smith listening
Yeah,
experience.
I can't wait
We'll
to
get to
hear-
an album one day
Yeah.
where I will really dive in.
Yes, you will,
Like TJ
Steven.
Smith and Stephen Curtis Chapman. I haven't said that yet this episode.
You haven't, but you got it in.
Track 10, Ripping Me Off.
Yeah.
Dude, yes, on this intro.
Yeah. Completely.
Yeah. It's so good. Yeah, musically I didn't have much to say about this, but I did have an excerpt from an interview with John Cooper. I think this was
Nice.
It wasn't on their Wikipedia, but I found it somewhere about the inspiration for this song.
Yeah.
That I thought was really interesting. It kind of goes along with what we were talking about, like with some of the other songs, how they were trying to do like the Christian equivalent of a lot of these songs that other people of their, like other bands in their similar genre were doing. All right. So Skillet frontman John Cooper was inspired to write this after hearing anti-Jesus comments at a Marilyn Manson concert. He told HM Magazine, "Before I saw Marilyn Manson, I honestly thought that his hate for Jesus was more of a gimmick. I went to the concert because I wanted to see how this generation responded to him. I was shocked at some of the things that he said against Jesus, and in my seat, I got mad and said, "Man, you're ripping me off." I wrote a song on the new album at that concert that talks about how the things people say about God can steal bits of truth from us. There are lots of bands saying things that steal away from the greatness of God. I would never be one to say that listening to secular music is a sin. There's no question that the messages are coming across. But the thing I found really interesting was later on it said, Cooper revisited the topic of Marilyn Manson in a 2019 Loudwire interview, explaining how he still enjoys Manson's music despite not agreeing with the messages in his songs. There's a lot of great music that I love that if I really get down to it, I'm like, yeah, I don't agree with those lyrics, he said. I guess Marilyn Manson comes to mind. I love Marilyn Manson. He sings a lot of things that I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not into that. To me, great music is about authenticity, and it's about singing something you believe. If I'm listening to someone say something they believe, I usually don't really care what it is.
Wow.
And that is rad.
Yeah.
Like, I wish my parents had read that when I was in middle school.
Right.
And I wanted to listen to something that wasn't Christian music.
Right.
I think that is really cool, especially for a band that is so overtly Christian.
Right.
Just as a musician, that he appreciates other kinds of music and other worldviews.
Yeah, he can kind of see outside his own experience or worldview.
Because that was something too that you know, I was always shielded from specific types of media, specific music and movies and stuff because it was so antithetical to...
Didn't represent the values that your family held.
Right, exactly. But at a certain point, it's just like, well, like what? Why are you know? I don't know. It's I'm dealing with a lot. I'm thinking through a lot, like with my childhood and stuff.
Yeah.
I just think it's super cool that he was all about just listening to authenticity.
Yeah, no, I think that's beautiful, man. I love that you shared that. I love that you did your homework in that specific way.
Right.
Because that does like reveal so much to me about the song that I think helps me appreciate the song a lot.
Right.
He, you know,
so,
he was in a certain
kind of
place in his brain at that point and was inspired to write this response. But then since then he has grown and kind of has shifted his view a little bit. And
at this point in the album, I'd kind of just written it off in a lot of ways.
Right.
But then, you know, so I listened to this album twice and it did give me a lot of perspective just in general with like what we're doing here and music that I listen to of just like, yeah, okay, I may not agree with this, but you know, if they really believe like what they're writing about and stuff, like you know, there's something to be said for that. And, you know, you can still appreciate, I mean, there's still some like worship music and stuff I listen to because the music's really good,
right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think art exists to speak to us where we're at. And some of it may not, but it means something to whoever created it. And I think that's the important part.
Yeah, for sure.
And it seems like he's kind of like locking into that idea in his own way, which is really cool. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. That's really neat.
For sure.
I was going to say too, to agree with you when you just initially were like, this is a jam. Yes, it's a banger.
Yeah.
Like it's a super fun song. Like just kind of, especially considering the looking at it from the vibe vantage point, like it is a blast. Like you can't not kind of like nod your head along or tap your toe.
Ripping me. Like it's got that kind of like super dancey, or that sort of alien kind of stuff. Some like Fatboy Slim kind of sound.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes. It feels cool too to like sing along to a phrase like that. Like just that phrase is really simple but strong. Ripping me off.
Yeah.
A lot of times for me, songs with like really angry lyrics can just like turn me off completely. But this is like right on the edge. It's like kind of dancing on the line of like, it's kind of an annoyance, anger. It's not like way out of hand.
Right.
And sort of like what I said about a lot of the songs on 5 Iron Frenzies, Until This Shakes Apart, if I switch my lyric brain off and just ride the vibe, I can really enjoy a song like this. I did want to dig into it a little bit lyrically from a 2021 vantage point, like from TJ's chair. Lyrically, it's a little bit of a mess, but the fact that you shared that interview with him saying a lot of that kind of
to kind of change your perspective a little bit.
It does. But still just kind of analyzing the song itself and not identifying current John Cooper with the song too much, but just saying this is the song. I did want to kind of read some of the lyrics and follow up on it with something.
Yeah.
Verse 1 says, they say Jesus is doing nothing. They say that evolution took his place. There's no God who created the world and no savior for the human race. And I would love to hear him unpack that premise. Now, again, maybe like current John Cooper would say something different than what, 2001 John Cooper would say. Verse 2 says, they say God is powerless. He laughs aloud as we cry in pain. It's just a part of his sick humor, forcing us to appreciate. Who is they?
Right, it's pretty reductive.
And again, you sharing that about Marilyn Manson, it's like, okay, maybe that's the they.
Okay, maybe he's exactly, yeah.
So that's helpful. I'm glad you shared that before I got into this part.
It's all about the context.
The context, man. And then verse 3 says, they say God doesn't even exist. We made him up just to numb our pain. They can't believe in a loving God who doesn't believe in atheists. And my question here is, John, did God tell you that he, she, it doesn't believe in atheists? That's weird.
That is super weird.
Anyway, and then the chorus, you say that God is dead, but you're ripping me off. You can't infect my mind with your vanity. Those are bold words. And my question there is, all those vain atheists out there, are they staring narcissistically into their mirrors and being really offended?
Probably. Although now that I know it's just about a Marilyn Manson concert, I'm like, oh, I can see Marilyn Manson. Like, him writing literally to Marilyn Manson.
Right.
And it does change it a little bit. But in general, but also not everyone has that context. And in listening to something like this, a lot of times you don't get the full story behind it. So it's like you're left to kind of interpret that. And there's a lot of really weird ways to interpret that.
And that is another really interesting thing about art. Like, it both means something very specific to the person creating it and something really nebulous to the audience. And then each individual in that audience, it's going to mean something else really specific to them based on their interpretation. And on that note, I wanted to try out a new segment with you today, Kylan.
All right, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Wait, let me run that again. All right. I'm excited for your new segment.
Yes.
What is it?
Well, this lovely music you're hearing now tells us that it is now time for Professor Philosopher's Conceptual Corner. This is a place to pose questions and theories in regard to the metaphysical, esoteric, epistemological, and strange. So, essentially, the viewpoints expressed in this album and many of its ilk and era, identifying as Christian, seem to convey a felt sense of oppression, persecution, being an outsider, and just all-around general difficulty. Having a hard road to hoe, as they say, in life. But, here in 2021, looking back, I wonder, was that truly the situation, or was it more a perceived persecution, a projected separateness, at least in part? Did Christians at the time want so badly to be thought of as a sacred city on the hill, apart from the secular world, that they created a self-imposed culture bubble and the narrative that they were victims of religious persecution? For me, as a middle school kid, around the time this album came out, I felt this sense of persecution. I'm using air quotes, by the way, listeners. But looking back, I wonder if it was not any specific religious discrimination or culture war, and more just preteens being preteens, which is to say, needlessly cruel, snot-nosed goons, just trying to figure their life out, but failing a lot, myself included. So when this album came out, was John Cooper, a very much not middle school-aged adult human person, dealing with his own very real persecution, or was it mostly in his mind? I just think America is and was built on the institution of Christianity. In God We Trust is on our money, for crying out loud. So, I'm posing to you, Kylan, and listeners, is it really accurate or realistic for Christians to complain about persecution, especially in the 90s when the majority narrative was white, male, and Christian? How much of this separateness or pain is legitimate, and how much is essentially an ethereal construct of an alien youth army hive mind? I don't know. What are your thoughts, Professor Kylan? What do you got?
Did you write all that down, or did you just that was just off the dome, right? That was just extemporaneous.
That was extemporaneous, baby.
It sounded like it. Dang. Dude, I don't know, man. That was a lot to throw at me when I was just like, I like Ebo. I got to think on it a little bit.
Hey, man, this is Professor Philosopher's Conceptual Corner.
Yeah.
We get weird in this corner.
That's very true.
It's a weird question.
It is a weird question. So basically,
I think...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think I, as, like, middle school goofball TJ, listening to this album, really identified with a lot of the feelings and ideas presented in it, you know, heal me, kill me, like, will you be there is the next song, ripping me off, stronger, like,
right.
These kind of, this tension between, like, hope and pain and separateness and, oh, you just don't understand, you know, those are, like, pretty classic feelings to have as a middle schooler.
Well, what's interesting to me about it is the idea that at the time when I was listening to this, like, we're taking over the world, blah blah blah, like, from that, like, young preteen Christian perspective, that feels really hopeful, and standing on the other side of it feels real creepy
and kind of angry.
Yeah. Of, like, yeah, we're gonna take over and rule everything. That just seems a little antithetical to a lot of the quote unquote Christians message.
Some of the themes from the gospel message, right?
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I'm really bad at on the fly. I'm trying to articulate my thoughts.
It's okay. It's a lot to think about.
It is a lot to think about.
I think a lot of the ideas come from a good place, and sort of like John Cooper said in the interview that you read for us a moment ago, I think that these songs definitely are coming from an authentic place, right?
Right.
And so for him personally, I can see each one as valid and meaningful, but then if you attach, like, the sort of metaphorical army of Christendom to these songs, then it starts to feel a little, like, heavy-handed and, like, okay, whoa, you're doing fine.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, and it
persecuting
honestly
you.
that has the, you know, I don't know exactly where I'm going with this, but, like, I feel like it has a potential one, you know, a word I used earlier, it feels really reductive.
Right.
And it does have the possibility of feeling dangerous, even if, you know, like we said before, like, this isn't a Christian podcast, and we don't want to, like, get, like, deep into theology and stuff, and you know, and we're all in different places in terms of that. But even if you were, like, 100% on board with the quote unquote Christian agenda, I feel like because in so many ways this is pretty reductive, it can kind of send the wrong message. I don't think that really, like, means anything. It's not going to make any, like, 13-year-old kid become, like, militant in any way.
No.
And also I don't know. It seems like, I guess, if their goal was to, like, spread the message of Christianity, which it seems like, based on who they are as a band, based on the lyrics of this album,
it's definitely part
that
of
is, like, a big part of their mission.
Right.
I don't know if it's 100% effective.
Right. Yeah, and I guess I just wonder how.
But it's also, like, not their job. Again, like, you know, like, I don't think they have to, but it seems like it fails if their goal is to spread this message, which it seems like they do, right?
Right. I think so. And I think, kind of like you said earlier about ripping me off being a very specific response to a very specific situation.
Mm-hmm.
If a listener doesn't have that, they are just going to try to fill in those gaps,
Right.
and kind of assign meaning to it that may not even intentionally be there.
Yeah.
But for them, that's what it means. And so I guess that's what I'm kind of getting into, is like, how much of this is just perception and how much of it is real. And to your point about trying to convey this message of Christianity, whether it's effective or not, I just think, like, kind of at the core of it, a lot of it should be about oneness and togetherness and acceptance. And a lot of the themes in this album are like pain and hardship and separateness.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think is the part that I'm like, that feels like it fails.
Right,
your
but
point.
but you know, I don't know, I hadn't thought of this before, but there is like a sort of biblical Christian precedent for that. I feel like
True.
reveling in your quote unquote pain and suffering. I gotta stop saying quote unquote. Reveling in your pain and suffering,
Right.
perceived or not, seems to be a big part of the Christian experience or the Christian story. You know what I mean? Like from Job all the way to like the
Right.
early Christians and stuff, like persecution, perceived or real, is like there's a big chip
It's
on
thematically accurate.
Christianity's shoulder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
Of like being
And
the
I guess that's
underdog,
the-
which it's not. It's like a major world religion, but it's still
Right.
it still acts like it's an underdog and everyone's attacking it.
Right, and people feel like it
Mhm.
is, like you're saying, whether it's real or perceived. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and I guess that's kind of the question I like to wrestle with a lot of the time, is like, how much of this is just historically the narrative, right? Like from a biblical place,
Mhm.
like, and how much of it is actually experiential and real. You know, did you just take the identity of a victim or the person being persecuted and project that onto yourself, or is that really what you're experiencing?
Mhm.
And that's the question. I don't have an answer, you know.
I don't
know.
either.
But I think it's fascinating to think about.
It really is.
This has been Professor Philosopher's Conceptual Corner.
That was intense.
I'm trying to change my accent every time I say it.
I like it.
It's not going to
That's
be
good.
exactly the same.
You should do a couple of them right now. Do a couple of them right now.
Professor Philosopher's
Did you forget what it was called?
Corner. Yes.
All right, what else you got?
Too many
You got a
words.
high pitched one?
Professor Philosopher's Conceptual Corner.
Are they all British? Can you do a
Oh.
Brooklyn?
Yeah. Professor Philosopher's Conceptual Corner.
That was very Christopher Walken.
It started walking and it went somewhere else.
Yeah, can you do Batman?
Professor Philosopher's Conceptual Corner.
All right, what about the Joker?
Oh, which Joker?
Doesn't matter.
I'm gonna do what's his face? Not Heath Ledger.
Jack Nicholson.
Joaquin. I'm gonna do Joaquin Phoenix Joker.
Okay.
Professor Philosopher's Conceptual Corner.
That's pretty good.
He's real.
Can you do
sad,
Australian?
You know. Shut up.
I'm
Leave
keeping
me
all this
alone.
in. I'm derailing us for like 20 minutes just to get you to do weird accents.
And you're just gonna keep it.
I mean, yeah, I am for 100% because we don't have that
Oh,
much more of
God.
this album to talk about.
No,
And
it's
our
true, we
our
don't.
episodes are normally like 2.5 hours long, and we're like,
Now, Kylan, can you explain Australia to me?
oh my God. Hashtag Australian bars.
Call back.
All right, track number 11. Will you be there?
To sleep. Will you comfort me when my heart is weak?
Nope. I'm gone.
Yep. I said this had sweet, sweet bass though. Finally.
It does. Finally, yes.
And the female vocals are so good.
So good.
I
Yeah.
wish I would just listen to an album of that. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like,
I literally wrote, I just want more Corey vocals.
Yeah, they're so good.
Great.
I was way into that.
Also, this, to me, more than any other song on this album, is the Creed analog.
Yes.
It's the same tempo and maybe even like similar chord structure to With Arms Wide Open.
Oh, interesting.
You know?
Can you do Scott Stapp introducing us to the Professor Philosophers?
Professor Philosophers, Conceptual Corner.
What about John Cooper?
Nope, can't do that. That's too meta. My brain broke.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's very Creed. I liked it though. This is probably my second favorite.
Cool.
I just like her vocals a lot.
Yes.
I need more of that.
Yeah, same. Yeah, those were like the bright, shining moments for me across this album. Anytime her vocals popped up, I was like, okay, I enjoy this.
Yeah. You got anything else for this song?
Again, lots of like kind of wah guitar popping up.
Mm-hmm.
Like fun, cool.
Yeah.
I like it. Kind of tired of the tone at this point in the album, but just because
for sure,
it's a long album.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I may do a resequencing of this. I may do a new track list. I haven't thought it through all the way yet, so I'm not going to talk about it, but we'll post it and we'll see what people think of that. Yeah. So it comes down to this, the last song. Track number 12. 12. Track number 12. Come My Way. Did you just sing that? I wasn't paying attention. Track number 12, Professor Philosopher.
Come My Way. It's a chill piano song, man.
I said cool piano. Sounds like a Christmas song.
It does, especially when the cello kicks in.
Mm-hmm. It's totally a Christmas song.
Yeah.
I stopped paying attention to the lyrics entirely at this point, though.
I did too, actually, because it just doesn't really go anywhere.
I feel like there's been a trend, definitely, of albums with like 12 plus songs that we just kind of get burnt out by the last song.
Yeah. Yeah.
So many of these albums have great starts. I want more that have like great finishes.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Me too. Yeah. Yeah. So many of them do seem to kind of just run out of creative energy by like halfway or 3/4 through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do like it though as an ending track. Like if you're gonna have to go way out to left field stylistically like they did on this one, because this is, again, it's sort of like the one earlier that you said didn't belong on this album. This also, what I was gonna say back then was that song and this song could be on the same album.
For sure.
What was that?
You Are My Hope.
Yes, You Are My Hope and Come My Way.
Yeah, I mean, they're totally like worship songs. They're total worship songs.
But I do like this as a closer.
I agree.
Works.
Pretty good closer.
And that's all I got to say about it.
Hey, me too. We did it.
We did it.
We did it.
So, Kylan.
What?
Is Alien Youth, now that the aliens have landed, and we've established that, is Alien Youth by Skillet a flop or a bop?
Well,
tell me.
Well, if this album was 8 songs playing in the background of a Twisted Metal game, it would totally be a bop.
Contextualizing.
Exactly. It's very close to being a bop for me. Honestly, I know I feel like I picked on it a lot, but from the vibe guy perspective, even though this is totally not the kind of music I listen to, but once again, like I said, I've just rewatched all the Matrix movies and I'm feeling this very like early 2000s vibe in general right now.
Right. Yeah. Techno punk.
It's very, very, very close to being a bop.
Right.
There's too much weirdness that I don't like though.
Yeah.
You Are My Hope, Vapor, there's too much that just like doesn't connect with me. And it's one of those, like I said, like I usually don't really pay attention to lyrics, but a lot of this is just so kind of in your face lyrically.
Right.
Like it's hard to not pay
Right.
attention to it. I don't really love it.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it barely a flop. Barely.
Okay. Yeah, I
Just
like that.
barely. Like if Bop and I can't, that's visual.
He's doing a really great visual
like a-
representation, listeners.
a flop. Just like it's right there on the line, and then just boom, just barely
Right on
dips
the
down.
line. Yeah.
What about you?
So I'm gonna say ultimately, if middle school teach had to listen to a new metal post grunge industrial band, I'm glad it was Skillet.
Yeah.
I really am. Because that genre, that's all
There's
I'll
a
say.
lot of trash in it.
Yeah,
But, like, because I was thinking through that, like, so we're doing that if you like this, then
right.
episodes, and I was working on my playlist, and it is like really
It's tough.
hard.
Yeah,
It's
a
really
hard
there's a
one.
lot of trash out there,
It's
and I
tricky.
might just have some ironic tracks on there.
Right, and that's fair.
Yeah,
If you can connect it, right? Just find that
Exactly.
connective tissue.
exactly.
But yeah, so for me, looking back as a band, I'm like glad that this was what I found when I went looking for like industrial, angry post grunge stuff.
Mhm.
Because I think as a 12, 13-year-old, you're pretty impressionable in your development. So like
Yeah,
they were relatively tame in comparison. But I will say, this for me is a Bilbo Baggins album. And what I mean by
What does that
that
mean?
is it is not enough butter scraped over too much
too
bread.
much bread. I love that.
Too few good ideas. Those are
Spread
the
over
butter
too much album,
over the album runtime
which
is the bread.
tends to
Yep.
happen. That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Like,
And
why can't? I mean, this may be the ADD in me, but like, why can't every album just be like 8 songs?
yeah, I
And
get
then just
it.
come out if you got 13 songs, do an album and an EP,
Right. And
or come up with 2 more songs and have 2 albums.
right. Yeah. Just break it up. Why not? Yeah. No, and I really, this was helpful for me though, because it helps me reframe how I listen to music through the lens of how you listen to music, I think. Like I said.
Yeah.
Like it was a very Kylan listening experience for me because so many of the songs were just like, okay, I'm over it.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of them were like, okay, I'm into this. But with that said, you talked about doing an alt track list. I actually did one.
Oh,
and
nice.
I'm curious to see what yours might look like. But
Okay, but I
mine
want to hear yours.
is just the Alien Youth EP.
Okay, sweet.
It starts
Love it.
track 1, Alien Youth. Nothing needs to change about that. Great
Hell yeah.
opener, like you said. Track 2, Earth Invasion.
On board.
I like that one. Track 3, I liked One Real Thing.
Cool.
That works for me as a track 3.
That was my favorite song on the album. Remember?
Yeah, it was. That's right.
Yeah.
Track 4, Ripping Me Off, because I think
Sweet.
it's a banger, even if like I can dive into the weird
Yeah.
philosopher place with my brain. Like if I'm going vibe guy, I can really dig
Mhm.
that song. And
Awesome.
then I actually put Come My Way as a closer.
Dude, that is great. That is a great EP right there.
Right? Thank you.
I would listen to that. Like,
Yes.
I would listen to that all the way through multiple times.
Right.
I'm on board with that.
So my answer is it's a flop, but my EP would be a bop.
Okay. So it's basically how I was with our newest album ever.
Right.
Okay. We're
Yeah.
both a little more kind of on the fence than I thought we would be, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
Like going
me
into
too.
this, like, and I feel like we were pretty tough on this record,
Yeah.
at least
Yeah, we
in
were.
this conversation.
True.
But I think we both found more things to enjoy than either of us anticipated.
Yeah. And that's the fun part of the process. That's the journey, if you will.
That's true.
Is finding the
Don't stop
redemptive
believing.
elements. What?
I said, don't stop believing.
Don't
You
stop
said
believing,
journey.
baby.
Sweet. Well,
Don't
guys,
stop
I think
believing.
we're not playing that. Next week, we're going to talk about Journey. No, we're not. So here's what's fun. We don't know what we're gonna do next week.
We don't know. It's a mystery.
It's a surprise.
Woo!
But I'm sure by the time the next episode comes out, you will know what it is because you'll read it in the title.
That's how it works.
As always, please rate, review, subscribe on iTunes. Please give us reviews, you guys. If you like it, let us know. If you don't like it, I mean, you'll hurt our feelings deeply.
Just like maybe we heard
we'll be
John
really
Cooper's
sad about it.
feelings.
But yeah, maybe just like try to spare our feelings, but let us know. Like, I guess I still want to know out of morbid curiosity.
Yeah, true. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, just leave reviews like that.
And
that like super helps us out.
Yeah, it helps us out. And argue with us on social media. Please.
Yeah.
Come at me.
Yeah, come at me.
Tell me how wrong
No,
I am.
Not me. I'm too sensitive. But come at TJ. He's ready for it.
And the meme with the guy, the change my mind guy with the mug at the table.
That's you.
That's me right now.
That's you. Also, we're on Instagram at, what is our Instagram?
We're good at this.
I got my high pitch giggle.
I think it's just Church Jams Now.
Yeah. We're on Instagram at Church Jams Now, Twitter at Jams_now, and on Facebook, search Church Jams Now Podcast. If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. We're not ending on that. I'll think of something better. I'll put it in post. Alien Youth.
Alien Youth.
Can you do that, your introduction to your segment?
Professor Philosopher's Conceptual Corner.